Well, PNSO sure seems to take more time between releases nowadays, but fingers crossed, it seems like they're giving us a diverse selection with each new release. We've had that incredible Lufengosaurus last time, and today we have an unusual entry, Wuerhosaurus. Wuerhosaurus is really quite miserably known. Zhao Chuang acknowledges that it really is fragmentary, but they've done their best based on what's known of the remains, which is basically a humerus, scapular coracoid, 2 dorsal plates, and some miscellaneous vertebrae. It's been estimated by Paul to be around 7 meters or 23 feet long. I estimate this model to be 20 centimeters or 7.9 inches through the centra, which would make it nicely 1:35. The highest point is about 6.8 centimeters or 2.7 inches off the ground. And here's the Wonder Artistic Model's 1:35 humanoid. I've already talked a bit about Wuerhosaurus in the Haolonggu Wuerhosaurus video, and it really is a bit since I don't know a lot about it. So please check out that video. Now let's get into it. Once again, shock and surprise, we have another brown-based color palette with stripes. But I have to say, given its last Lufengosaurus and how beautiful that was, I'm in a very good mood. When you see later how beautifully blended this is with some color accents on the plates, I hope you'll be somewhat placated. So the first thing you'll realize is that this Wuerhosaurus is essentially a variation on a main theme, the main theme being Stegosaurus. And since this is such a fragmentary dinosaur, Zhao Chuang borrowed heavily from Stegosaurus, which makes sense because in one phylogeny, their sister taxa. And up close, there should be something very familiar in the head, the mouth line, and the detail which is so carefully picked out. The whole thing has a very bird-like look to it. The eyes are very cleanly painted. And then you see that scale detail, as well as that throat armor. Very pleasing indeed. You'll also see the beginnings of those plates, and that deep infusion of dark red and blue. It's not as vivid as I'd personally like, but that's really a matter of personal taste. Just to give you an idea of size, here's my almond. As we go into the body, let's just focus straight to the obvious, the very unusual dermal plates. And from their beginnings in the neck, you see them increase in size towards the hips in the expected manner. Traditionally, Wuerhosaurus has been depicted with this unique plate morphology, but it's been believed that these were in fact more Stegosaurus-like. The origin of this idea, as far as I know, was attributed to Susanna Maidman, who apparently commented that the low flat plates were caused by breakage. Well, a couple of years ago, I wrote to Dr. Maidman and asked her about this, and she said it was based on her personal observation, but not in any paper. Zhao Chuang knows about this idea, but PNSO went with the traditional look. PNSO, however, have noted that in Stegosaurus the plates, they seem to come to a point somewhat posteriorly, and taking some reference from this, we have this low angulation going up to the apex here. As I've mentioned, there's a kind of cleanness of the top plate, and just because it's broken doesn't mean the actual form couldn't be similar to this. If we zoom in, you can see that where the plate erupts from the skin, you have these raised scales we've seen in other models. Your eyes naturally want to be led down the sides, where you can see the very fine detail as PNSO does so well. And here, you'll also see that the form of the stripes isn't just a simple dark on light, but within the stripes, we have essentially two zones of color that blend together. It looks very watercolor-like, and the fade is smooth as butter. While here, you can see the detail in the rest of the body. Generally, you have scalation, wrinkles, and some scutes scattered within. Very inobtrusive the way I like it. I like shoulder regions in general because there's often plenty of interesting texture in the detail, the mosaic look. And going down, you see the texturing and flow of the scales, the change of it in the triceps region, and you'll also see these bulges on what might be muscles or fat. And without a doubt, it's going to leap out that this is in fact a very stumpy arm. The humerus in a holotype is short, especially in comparison to other hind limb bone ratios, and hence accounting for the stumpiness of the model. Interestingly, Zhao Chuang does know that the manus should have only the medial 2 fingers hooved, but in this model somehow the medial 3 are clawed. You might want to paint this out. In the hip, you have more of that detail. I like how the skin here stretches as it joins the tail, creating a kind of flap. It slips my mind what this is called, so one of you remind me below. And going under, I don't like to be anal in general, but you'll see how there's a three-dimensionality in this raised area around the opening. And how that fits in with the detail in the surrounding skin is very nice indeed. Down the tail, on the underside. It's interesting, this looks like it might be a scute. Then we see the tegomizer spikes in their lateral orientation. Looking dorsally now, you see those tegomizer spikes again. And I feel here is where some color complexity could have lent much to the appearance of them. And moving up, you can appreciate here the detail in the skin integument where the plates erupt. And also the very broad pelvis in this dinosaur. In fact, Dr. Maidman has found the iliosacral block to be very similar to Stegosaurus, and at one point it was suggested that the two could even be the same. In fact, her 2017 phylogeny has Wuerhosaurus as the sister taxon to Stegosaurus, and hence many people reconstruct Wuerhosaurus to look like Stegosaurus. So that's it really for this PNSO Wuerhosaurus. Let's get to the comparisons. Unfortunately, I don't have the Weetai Wuerhosaurus, so I can't show that to you. But we can have a quick comparison with the Haolonggu. And here you can see the quality of smoothness when we talk about PNSO's paint applications. And actually, the unfortunate thing is that Haolonggu actually is very smooth as well, except that it's spoiled by having these squiggles. The plates are both presented differently, and here I find that the squiggles actually complement the plates in the Haolonggu, and a direct comparison for you to look at. Other obvious differences include the relative proportions of the limbs, and in the PNSO, the stumpiness is very obvious. Now I've heard rumblings that Wuerhosaurus might look more Miragaya, so the form could be more Darcentrurin. Maybe it's this Miragaya, I don't know. I don't catch up on reading much lately. I lead an incredibly busy life. Some other Chinese dinosaurs would be the PNSO Tuojiangsaurus, and then Collectes Giganspinosaurus. Then finally, the possible sister taxon, the namesake of the group, the stegosaurus from PNSO. Finally, our standard size comparators, the Wilson and the Cameron. So that's it for the PNSO Wuerhosaurus. It's an interesting addition, certainly, and very cute if I can describe it as such. And certainly, if you're a fan of those low plates, then a nice Chinese representative to have. Detail is nice, the color is nice, but otherwise not really an essential. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.